Also, ich halte es hier draußen nicht aus. Das ist zu kalt jetzt.
Switch off your mic. What I'm surprised is that you, the so-called membrane guy,
I'm the layman here on the financials.
Financial is a different topic, which I'd like to discuss with you as well. But let's start with your assessment to say they're not disruptive.
What means disruptive?
Did they?
Well, they did.
Did they?
They did it. They did it with everything. We know that.
Let me just finish on that.
Why?
Let me just finish on that. Let me just finish on that.
Why don't they have
No, I won't.
positive results?
Are you invested in them?
I don't want to put my money book on here.
So if you're not invested in them, why are you scared? Rich people are losing money. Is it your problem?
No.
Yeah, everybody knows that there's only one way to measure flow, and yeah, it's universal. Thank you, Björn.
Yeah, but
Despite the factory Björn knows which can deliver like that, if you need an address, ask him.
come to me.
I guess he gets a commission.
No. Good.
10?
10.
10.
10.
So I have only one word, and I promised I would wear that thing for now 2 shows. I'm back to Austria. Hi, Björn. Why?
Oh, hey, Antoine. Hey, nice to meet you. Welcome to Austria again.
Okay, let me crack a secret. We are recording those shows the same day, and actually this day is a bit special to me because it's the first birthday of my son. And if you're really looking very carefully at the way I'm dressed today, you can see that there's a little bit of him right here. I really had not planned to be like that for the 3 shows, but you will see me now 3 months in a row in that same thing. So can we go over it and just concentrate on the shows?
No, no, we cannot. But welcome to the show, Antoine. Welcome again back to Austria. Today I think we have a very packed show. What are we going to talk about today?
Today on the show we have your editorial, Björn, which is...
Hey, we have to talk about financial numbers, right? I mean, March is over already and all the financial numbers are published and we have to look into them because, you know, I found something really weird from some companies. So many money we just, you know, we burn it. I don't understand it. Maybe you do. Maybe I'm just here, the muggle and the layman. Maybe you are just the expert in that. Maybe he can help me out, but I don't think so.
I have to say, he mentions weird. That's the interesting thing with Björn. He really loves those numbers. And I have to say, without you, I wouldn't know about them. So I'm really glad that you're bringing them up every time they come up.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So what are you talking there about?
The 3 things I will cover in my top 3 this month are related to stuff which will go scarce in 2023. So if you want to buy them, move fast because those specific water technology processes will fly off the shelves.
What could that be? I'm really interested in that.
We'll see later. And then we have a deep dive, and our deep dive is about...
We will talk about the failures we have figured out. Many startups are doing always, right? We have a couple of things put together, things we have seen a couple of times, people, or let's say companies fail about and companies do all the time, which is maybe they should think about the second time.
So if I wanted to be a bit, clickbaity, I would say the 10 things we've seen startups doing repeatedly, which might be wrong and which could be done better. Absolutely. And that being said, let's move to Björn's editorial.
So sometimes I get wordy with those introduction and I'm not sure it brings a lot of value. So let me go straight to the point. Björn, it's your editorial. The seat is yours.
Thank you very much, Antoine. And today, I mean, the financial season always starts really in March. So in March, all the companies have to publish, especially if they are public, have to announce their numbers. And we talked about this a couple of times.
So you read the Q1 report.
I read a couple of reports and we have to talk, guys. We have to talk. A disclaimer up front. It is never about the company. It is about the numbers I want to judge and I want to question. It is never about the company. I looked a little bit into the numbers from some special companies, especially from public companies, and I don't understand something. Maybe you can help me out. For instance, I would like to highlight a company called LeakTech. LeakTech, membrane company from the US. Everybody knows that.
From Denmark. They are traded in the Nasdaq.
You're right.
They are from Denmark.
Right. Sorry for that.
If you want to have more details, listen to my interview with Harry Skadrispaek on my podcast season 2 or 3. I'm not sure anymore. That was my plug.
Yeah, good. They had a revenue 16 million, right, last year. So with
1.6.
1.6. You know, it was a loss a little bit compared to the year before. It's not about that. I don't want to judge the 16 million. But I want to judge that they had 16 million net loss, even with the 16 million revenue. And they had net loss over the last years and years and years and years. So they accumulate clearly the losses. The revenue goes backwards as well. The share price dropped dramatically over the last years. Clearly, we have to say that. And I don't really understand that, how that can happen if you burn so much cash over the years. The other example is one of my favorite companies, really. If you would ask me really for a company I would love to work for, it is clearly this one. It's Aquapurine. But I have to tell you also the truth. They had a revenue of last year of 4 million euros, which was an increase by 400%. So really, really great. But since more than 5 years net loss, just last year, 15 million. So they had 4 million revenue and 15 million loss. The year before they had 17 million loss. The year before they had 11 million loss. So they're burning cash like this. The other company, NX Filtration, we know it's a very young company. And
it was a while we didn't speak about NX Filtration. I think it was at least 2 months.
They had 8.4 million revenue last year. Great, they doubled the number. They doubled really the number. But also they had 15 million net loss. The year before they had 13 million net loss, together with the IPO costs and so on and so on. The other thing is they have 100 million in net cash position. So they have a lot of money. They sit down on the money and they burn it like hell. And they build a new production facility and things like that. I mean, these are just 3 examples I digged out. I could dig out some others. And I also found some others which really cutted their losses by half, and some, turned the loss into profit and things like that. I don't want to say that I understand that. I don't understand that, how you can really burn so much money. And that is a little bit the issue here. If that would be a disruptive technology, like we discussed it once, like Huber. Huber is a disruptor. They want to disrupt the entire market. But I don't see that nanofiltration or forward osmosis is really so much disruptive that it is worse burning such an amount of money. So maybe I don't get the point. And again, I don't have any idea. Maybe it's because of that they are new in the market. But wait, LiqTech is a company 23 years old. I know, I think that doesn't work like this, right? NX Filtration, yes, we all know it's pretty young. Again, it is not about bashing, but I don't understand here the bigger picture. Why we do have so many companies burning so much money. And that is a little bit the issue I have with all the financial numbers.
Let's start from your 3 examples, because I think they're pretty interesting. You say it's not that disruptive that it justifies burning cash. LiqTech does nanofiltration with
they have ceramic
membranes. So ceramic nanofiltration is pretty disruptive. And the last time I discussed with their technical director, they were on the verge to release reverse osmosis with ceramic membranes, which I would deem pretty disruptive. Aquapurine is leveraging this special protein which has very special peculiarities. They are also pretty disruptive in their way to market, because they also want to address the under the sink market. So membrane, high-tech technology, which you could have in every home. So disruptive on the technology, disruptive on the business model. And NX Filtration,
they have these kind of nanofiltration membranes,
which is also a different take at the market. And we all know that nanofiltration has this difficult position to not be ultrafiltration and not be reverse osmosis, and trying to find this market in between. But if they take it to the market, if they realize their promise, they have a good position to be lower pressure than reverse osmosis, and the same time, the same type of perks. So what I'm surprised is that you, the so-called membrane guy...
I'm the layman here on the financials.
Financial is a different topic, which I'd like to discuss with you as well. But let's start with your assessment to say they're not disruptive.
What means disrupt? You turn a completely market on its head. Apple did this with some mobiles.
Did they?
Well, they did.
Did they?
They did it with streaming. They did it with everything. We know that. Huber.
No. That's the heart of it. No. IBM invented the Simon in 1992. But Simon,
the market was not ready.
That's the point.
Things like that.
But that's the point.
Apple,
the IBM Simon existed 15 years.
Talking about Apple or
let me just finish that one. The IBM Simon existed 15 years before the iPhone came up, and you can argue that it's not the same technology, but it's the same approach. Yeah. What was different in 2007 is that the market was ready for Apple to disrupt it. So you're judging NX Filtration, LiqTech, and Aquapurine on their capacity to disrupt, but you don't know about the market. Maybe the market is or is not ready, or might be soon ready.
What I'm asking here is, why are we burning so much money? Why are we investing from investors' perspective, from family perspective? Aquapurine has a lot of this.
I just want to finish on this story of disruption. Why do you think they don't disrupt?
Because disruption means you turn something completely up on its head. And a membrane technology, Aquapurine is based on the proteins. It is something unique, but we have membrane filtration already there. Nanofiltration is, well known since decades, since we know filtration. So it's nothing so special. We know that we have ultrafiltration, we know that we have reverse osmosis, and we know that in the middle is nanofiltration. So it's nothing new. That is support. Even ceramic membranes, even that is not so new. So it is not really that you take these kind of technologies and you change completely the market, you change completely the rules. For instance, Huber, we discussed this once, and you said, oh, well, it is like Huber. Yeah, but Huber wants also to change completely the market, that we don't have these kind of taxi environment anymore.
But it's exactly the same. You say membranes exist, taxi existed. What Huber invented is a more practical way to tap into the taxes.
No, what you have here, you have a technology, and maybe I'm totally wrong.
You said it, not me.
But we have a technology which is doing the same. It's treating the water through pores. So it's always the same. Forward osmosis, forward.
And Huber is taking people in cars. If you try to go that way.
Okay. Then what is your bet on this? What is your bet on that? If you say, well, this is all disruptive, your bet would be that in some years, like Huber, like all the other food chain companies, which, deliver the food to your home, this was also disruptive. This will come in a couple of years. I don't believe in that, because it is not so much disruptive as all the other things we have.
Let's take LiqTech. Let's imagine LiqTech delivers on the promise that they can do reverse osmosis out of ceramic membranes, which means they can do these very high-end applications where you can be much more aggressive on your material, because fouling, backwashing, chemicals, mechanical backwashing, you can be much more aggressive because now it's ceramics and it's not polymers anymore. If they can deliver on that, it means that... Let me just finish on that. Let me just finish on that. Let me just finish on that.
Why don't they have...
No, I won't.
Positive results.
That means that if they achieve and if they deliver on that, which is not yet the case, they are finalizing the R&D and they need to then prove it and bring it to the market, and we know that the adoption in the water industry takes time. If they can deliver on that, I could imagine that instead of a 10 years lifetime for our old membrane, you could go to 20 years, which means spectacular increase, exactly as spectacular as Huber is to taxi.
I've worked also for family businesses, right? I know that you're coming really from the corporate perspective, but let's say I know family business who have really to count the money to pay the people. And here we have totally the opposite. We have companies who are burning cash all the time. And I don't get that.
What do you think about a big group? If we were to burn money, our shareholders would put us all from the window and I would not have a job.
Exactly. But why is that not happened here?
Because it's not the same thing.
It is. It is. 23-year-old company is burning money over the last years. So why is it not the same? Tell me. It's the same.
It's a matter of ambition. What do you want to achieve?
Okay, your company are not ambition, and this is...
Not at all. That's not the point. The point is, if you want to grow year on year to do a 3-5% profit and expect maybe your category to not disappear and to grow along your category, then that's the wrong way. But if you say, I want my category to fully change and I want to go to the next step change, then you need to take some risk.
Okay, I got it. But let's say how much risk you have to take. When is the risk too much?
When investors don't follow you anymore. As long as investors follow you, why?
Well, if you get a good story, and we all know water is a topic, because we had some months ago the UN Water Conference, which totally was, something weird. Water is a topic. That means we find all the time someone who's investing. We know we have more investments into the industry. But we are burning money. We have
it is not true.
What is not true?
If you take the venture capital investment in water, less than 0.5% of total venture capital goes into water. So it's not like we have free cash.
Yeah, but it increased over the last year.
Yeah.
This is what you have to tell the truth, not only the piece.
It increased from 0.3 to 0.5. Woohoo!
That doesn't matter. If we talk about billions, it is some money.
Okay, remove source and it didn't increase. True? Remove source and it didn't increase.
I don't want to talk about this. So, but no, really, it's not bashing at all. Tell me, why do you want to burn so much money? Why an investment company? Even I am investing if I have ETFs, if I have funds, if I have shares. Why? Let me finish. Annex, for instance, is building up a huge production facility that needs some money. Got it. We put it in because we bet on future that in 1, 2, 3, whatever years, they will have the market share, they will have the revenue, then it turns. But what about all the others? What about, for instance, the Aquapurine I said? Aquapurine, one of the best companies from, what they do is really great in terms of ESG, in terms of marketing, really great. But they are burning money over the years. like this.
You have to.
Do you?
If you start with the ambition to change the world, and these companies have the ambition to change at least a portion of the world, you have to. It's one of the paths. You cannot on one hand say, hey, venture capital is rising. Those are the rules of venture capital. I mean, look, we all know Tesla, right? Tesla, it's great, it's wonderful, it's a big success, it's the largest car manufacturer in the world. When the US state invested in Tesla, they invested hundreds of millions in Tesla to support the expansion of Tesla. At the exact same time, they invested exactly the same amount into a solar panel company. And nobody knows the name of that solar panel company because they died. That's the risk you have to be willing to take. You have to be ready to burn money on something.
Okay, I don't understand
That's the principle of venture capital.
I don't understand that. And if I read that, I should say, great. Revenue increase by 400%. Doesn't matter whether they have, for 4 times the loss of the revenue. Doesn't matter. So I should accept that and would say, great company.
No.
So four times they increase the revenue 4 times. Great company. Doesn't matter that they.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying that at some point you have to aim for profitability. If you are on the startup scale-up path, that point isn't the beginning.
Okay, startup, I get it. Okay, startup, I get it clearly. So NX Filtration startup, clearly.
Aquapurine?
Somehow in the middle. What about LiqTech?
LiqTech is a company that's changing its path. They just got trading, they are trading on NASDAQ maybe for 2 or 3 years.
Is that one of the companies which will quietly disappear over the time and someone will take this company and then the technology will disappear?
Why would they?
Well, because maybe it doesn't work. That is one of the reasons. I mean, so many technologies are still on the market and then they disappear.
I would really prefer to have clear paths in the water industry. What we see, and sorry, that's the moment where every second month I have to mention it. If you read the work of Paulo Calan in his Dynamics of Water Innovation,
yes, sure.
What he showed is that, this time I'm not taking that one, I'm taking another of the figures he's showing, which is that the companies in the water sector are not like the usual suspects we see in startups, which are in this chasm and then die. It's not the case. In the water industry, they survive. They stay around.
Yeah.
They're in this no man's land. A decade.
They find an investor and the investor say, okay, yeah, you have another couple billion. And
what you're seeing here with LiqTech is that, and I don't have all the story, I didn't even know you were going to speak about LiqTech, so I'm really speaking from the top of my head. But what you see with this kind of companies that most probably they were in this no man's land. And they said, what do we do? Do we stay in the no man's land and we might be successful going from one pilot to a middle scale to some scale of project, and yeah, we can survive for that? Or do we go for the big bets and we are ready to raise money from the market and to go all in because we believe in what we do? I think that's what they did. To me, that's what they did, and I can't blame them for that.
It's not blaming at all. It's not blaming at all. I just want to understand the mechanism.
Let me take a last example here.
Okay.
You gave us 3 membrane companies.
This is really by purpose. Really by purpose, was not.
I always wonder, because there are 1,000 membrane companies, and I wonder how within that ocean of 1,000 membrane companies, how can you be different? And it sounds to me like those companies are trying to be different. And that's the aim. And you can't blame them for that. And let me take a last example.
No. I'm not blaming them that they try to be different. I'm just asking the question, does it make sense to have so many losses if you have such a small revenue and such a small market share?
As long as you have,
that is a bet here.
As long as you have cash and you're in business, it means that people believe in your path. And let me take my example. What is the biggest Series A ever in the water sector?
Tell me.
It's Svitoko, so another membrane company.
Another membrane company.
So it sounds to me like if you come with a membrane technology which has this potential to be different, well, markets are ready to believe.
I want to believe so wicked bad in this.
Because there is a need for this type of technology, aiming for this type of problem and looking at the type of solution which you can bring with a membrane technology. So you can't on one hand say, oh, we need more investment and clever investment and venture capital, and on the other hand say, oh, they are following the startup path. Yeah, Netflix was profitable for the first time last year.
Okay, I checked. Total bullshit. Netflix was profitable since 2003. I don't know what I'd smoked that day, but I'll leave it in the edit so that Björn can do a victory dance in the comments.
Yeah, but Netflix really disruptive.
What did they disrupt? You could go to the VHS store and take VHS, and now you can have it on stream. I mean, I'm using the same argument than you. They are as disruptive to the VHS, then Aquapurine is disruptive to the membrane industry.
Netflix is not disruptive. That's what he said.
Not less than Aquapurine, not less than LiqTech, not less than NX Filtration, not less than Svitoko, not less than Membrane. Shall I continue?
So that means they are all disruptive.
Not less than Evolve. not less than. I can continue for a while.
No, interesting, but really, I mean, I see the number and it scares me a little. That's what it is.
Okay.
It scares me really a little bit for these cool companies. They have so.
Are you invested in them?
I don't want to put my money book on here.
So if you're not invested in them, why are you scared? Rich people are losing money. Is it your problem?
No, I care, for instance, about the people, about the business model, about our industry. That's what I care about. I mean, it's all about people.
What's at stake for those people? You're working for Aquapurine, you're working for LeakTech. You could be there and be leaving something which is like, okay, a 9-to-5 job. Instead of what? They're like, we can change the word, let's take the risk. And maybe you're out of a job in 3 years and you'll find something else. What's at stake? Not much. Not much, really.
Live for nothing or die for something. Your call.
So you are clearly saying it's good that they do losses because
I'm excited that there are companies like that in our industry. I find it incredibly cool.
Me too. Don't. As I said, I'm scared to see these numbers. I'm really scared. Hopefully, in the next 3 years or 5 years, whenever I look into the numbers, these are one of the examples which turns upside down the revenue and profit, and I hope so. I really hope so.
If one of them makes it big, then it was worth it. But that's an interesting topic. I'm glad that people like you take some time to read the Q1 report.
Not the
Q2,
Q3 annual report.
Okay, I'm looking for it next year because every year he comes up with some, I have to say, cool stuff out of this financial report. So someone has to read it. It's Björn. And we might not agree on the outcome, but I'm glad that you
again, it's not about agreeing.
Here we go again.
No. I get you.
All three companies are cool companies.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. They are cool companies. They have cool product. But I don't get, and as I said, it scares me really if I see that they have such a small revenue and such a high loss.
The answer is yes, Grandpa.
And this is not just, once over the last years. It happens every year, every single year. And that's what really scares me.
I think you understood his main message. So I'll leave him the conclusion for the editorial and I propose you to switch to the top 3. If you're an investor, you heard from Björn that maybe you have to be cautious with some investments because you might be burning money. Now, I'll take a different type of people with money in their hands in our industry. If you're a purchasing department or if you're a company and you're wondering what might be short in supply over the coming year, what shall you order right away? Because if you don't, you might not get your stuff. And actually identified 3 types of goods which are flying off the shelves to a point where when I discuss with the companies, they tell me order now because delivery time is 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or even more.
Oh, I'm interested to hear what that is really is.
So my number 3 is linked to many plans we've seen coming up from governments, which are looking into reducing their non-revenue water. They take it as a low-hanging fruit, which is something they can easily tap into to combat water scarcity. So there were plans in Italy, plans in Germany, plans in France, in a lot of countries around the world. And the consequence is that if you want to reduce your non-revenue water, you have basically 2 main ways to go. The first is to say, hey, my network is shitty. Let me dig out all my network and replace all my network. That's efficient, but it's pretty expensive. So they don't do that.
That will be good for GF, right?
I mean, everything is good for us because we support those companies and we can help them with all the different shades of what they take. But
you always try to pitch a little bit about that.
But actually, no, I wouldn't even advise for that because most of the time you have some stuff which you can do in between, which are a better solution. And that's the second option. The second option is to look at your network to try to understand why it's leaking, if it's leaking. And sometimes it's pressure, which is too high, and you can install some pressure management. Sometimes it is simply that you don't understand your network, that there are parts of your network which you imagine are still in the ground but are no longer in the ground, and other parts which are still in the ground and you imagine they were already out of the ground. True story. So if you want to tap into that, what you need to do is to go into smart metering, smart actuation of the network, collecting data, inline sensors. And nowadays, when you discuss with the companies which are delivering that, what they tell you is, yeah, we knew it was going to take off, so we were getting ourselves ready, but we're still a bit green into all of that because that is pretty new to have these smart elements within the networks. And if you look at the supply chain, it's getting longer and longer until you get your delivery of orders. So
what is it?
Smart meters?
Yeah, what? What for smart meters?
Flow meters, for instance, pressure.
So what is the issue with the flow meter? Why is the supply chain? I mean, there's metal, there's some sensors, it's electronics.
I'm a plumber.
It's electronics.
What is it?
It is electronics and it's long distance stuff because you have to put stuff in the network. You don't have electricity on site. So you need to have batteries, You need to have whether passive stuff or with battery stuff, things which you could put in the ground and let there for 10 years, 20 years. So it's quite specific sensors, and it's quite specific in the way.
Why is it now new? I mean, what is the one thing?
How many times do I have to repeat myself?
Because all the countries are suddenly tapping into it.
Because everybody wants to have them now? Or because what is that? What is the issue? Why is the shortage?
The networks were leaking and everybody was fine with it.
Yeah, but
and now we discover water scarcity and every country says, oh, now we have some millions to put into it and not billions.
Yeah, but what is the point that a smart meter is a product which has compounds, metal, electronics, cables, sensors, a lot of things. So what is the one thing?
Well, I can repeat you what I just said, which is
before you said
people were not buying,
yeah, but
now people are buying.
Yeah, but what of these? Is it just the entire package, everything?
No,
or is it just one specific?
Those products are specific because they have to be autark and autonomous. So they have to be running.
So we are talking about electronic parts. So that is the bottleneck.
It's not just the electronic parts. It is the fact that you have to put stuff in the network which are there to 10 or 20 years. And those technology exists, but not to the same extent than you could just buy from GF a flow meter or from a Sauser flow meter, from Hack a flow meter and put it in your plant and then wire it. Here it's different. You have to have technology which uses LoRa or Wi-Fi or which is passive or which is using different type of technology.
But isn't that exactly? But if you come up with that, I mean, this is needed everywhere. We need it in the cars, all the electronic parts. We need it in our mobiles. We need the computers. Everything is really completely electronic. So
don't focus on the electronics. The main thing is not the electronics. The main thing is it is stuff on the networks which didn't exist 5 or 10 years ago. So it's companies which are starting these product lines which don't exist to a big extent, and you don't have that much of a production capability to supply the entire world. Demand is outpacing the offer.
You have the money and invest into a production for smart meter because you can be rich over the next years.
And companies are doing that actively. But when you go into that, it takes time to ramp up the production capability. And in between, there might be shortages.
But isn't a smart meter product like, I don't want to say that, but let's say, is there really so much rocket science behind a smart meter?
I think it's because
about a flow meter.
It's because a lot of people think like you that we might be in this strategy.
It is known since decades.
What is known since decades?
How to measure flow. There are different methods.
Okay, let me re-explain. The problem is not measuring flow. The problem is a combination of measuring flow in a passive way in a place where you can't be doing maintenance every second day.
I get your point. But in principle, if you have a flow meter, triple, quadruple your production, and then you are a rich man because everybody wants to have that.
Yeah, everybody knows that there's only one way to measure flow, and yeah, it's universal. Thank you, Björn.
Yeah, but okay. Come up with number 2. Maybe it's better.
That's number 3. If you're really into this non-revenue water and you want to reduce your non-revenue water, look at your supply chain right now because it's going to be in tension. It is already in tension. Now there's a sector which is even more in tension, and that is getting really out of hand. It is everything which is linked with industrial desalination and all the shades of industrial desalination. So resource recovery from brines, industrial evaporation, crystallizers, that is getting fully out of hand for a very simple reason we discussed 2 months ago, which is the lithium industry is eating up everything the water industry can supply. So companies which used to be water companies are now selling like hot bagel, really hot bagel stuff to the lithium producers, which have much more cash we can pay straight away and which are ready to invest now and to sign the orders for something which is delivered in 3 years, when industrials are still like, well, do I really want to recycle my water and do I really go to that level of resource recovery? And right now...
So what you're saying, desalination, if I want to build the next mega plant, and I will have issues with my supply chain?
Industrial desalination. So not the conventional long racks which you find in the municipal big plants. That is a different supply chain. What I'm saying is that specialized players which look at high pressure reverse osmosis or complex type of combinations with reverse osmosis ion exchanger, if you heard of it, is the crystallizers and the evaporators. That is really getting out of hand. I can't give you the name of the company because I don't want to crack every secret. But one of the leaders in that market told me right now their books are full for 3 years. 3 years. And one of the co-leaders in that space, which last year had a 100% increase in their production, which is really ramping up to multiply by 4 their production over the next 3 years, they told me right now they have 1 year full. You give your order now, it is something fully standard off the shelf, you still won't get it before 1 year.
But for what exactly? For what exactly? What is
okay,
exactly?
Again,
no.
Evaporators, crystallizers.
So it is really the evaporator, the completely evaporator, the crystallizer.
One of the companies I discussed with told me, I asked them, are you looking for customers? How can we collaborate? And I said, no, please, no. We don't want customers. Right now, we don't want customers because we can't deliver to them. We are stopping our marketing push. We are stopping our sales push because we need to execute what we have in order to keep our name out there in the market. That is the situation we're in right now. So if you have a project which involves evaporation, crystallization, high-end reverse osmosis, high-pressure reverse osmosis, place your orders now because the supply is going to be ultra short.
If you're looking for a high-pressure reverse osmosis system, I can give you some sources from China. I know sources in China. They have fully automated plants. They do it like this, like that, like the money from the other companies. They produce so many. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's just one piece.
I would still have my doubts because the same lithium boom is happening in China as well.
Sure.
So, but
they have facilities I've seen. Unbelievable from the capacity perspective. Really, fully automated. You just look there and look crazy.
So don't place your orders. Björn just solved it, and that leads me to number 1. Would you guess it?
I was surprised about smart meter and now crystallizer and evaporators. So what is it?
Number 1 is easy.
Ion exchange resin?
No.
What?
Much easier than that. What do you need to make it work?
To make what work?
Whatever you want in the water industry. You need people. Oh, the highest shortage we will experience in the next 5 years is in people. I give you here some examples. You read the financial reports. I read the activity reports, for instance, from the UK utility companies. And what they all say is that when they look at the money they were supposed to spend and the money they really spent, there's a big gap. They spent much less money than what they wanted to spend. And the reason for that is that they could not find the people to execute. They could not find the manpower to execute on their plans.
I had an interesting, I was just thinking, I mean, you came with that. I mean, this is obvious that people are the bottleneck, especially high educated people. These are the people we need, really. And I had a discussion some months ago with a UK company, and they said clearly, I think it was a ceramic membrane company in the UK, from the UK, and they said, well, we have a shortage. We can't get the people anymore due to the fact that even the universities don't train this and this and this field anymore. And that's why we don't get the people we need with the knowledge. And that was so interesting for me. I mean, we all know that let's say, if you want to have high qualified people, you have a shortage. I mean, it's a war of talents. I mean, we know this since years.
But here it's a sum of things. You have inflation on one end, which means that the full economy is going to high speed, which means that people can easily find a job if they leave a job. You have the fact that qualified water professionals aren't so plentiful. You have the fact that you have the silver wave and people are retiring. And you have the element of our jobs are rapidly changing. When we discussed last month about 2 days training, I mean, nowadays with digitization, with process automation, with all the new technologies which you discussed in your editorial, those are not exactly the same that we were using 20 years ago, which doesn't mean that water professionals are obsolete. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that you need to do this effort to keep up to date, and not everybody is ready. I mean, I had the experiment once. I was in a room with maybe 80 water professionals, and we had the question, who did voluntarily take a training this year? And I raised my hand, and we were 3 maybe to raise our hands.
That's a different topic.
But that's part of the thing. That means you have less...
Total different topic.
You have less people which are really to this highest end in terms of staying up to date. And there is a shortage, which we see. You discuss with companies that tell you they're not able to spend their budget. You discuss on projects that tell you projects are delayed because they could not find the right manpower, the right people to execute the project. So if you have good people, keep them. And if you have the opportunity to take on people right now and you're not sure because what will the business be in 6 months, take them. Yeah. And maybe lasting on that people, because I remember we had that discussion 7 or 8 months ago. So it's a while ago that we had the discussion, and I was very surprised by what you said, and I disagreed with what you said. But a lot of people then in the chat agreed with you, so I was even more surprised.
Why are you surprised that people agree with me?
You explained how it's about money. I explained why it's about purpose. I don't think that you can have purpose without money, and I think you can have money without purpose. But I think I still stand my points that if you want to overcome that shortage of people, you need to give them a purpose. Why should they work for you and not for another company? Why are they doing the right thing when they work for you? And that is super important.
It is one of the major reasons, and that's why I said clearly in the beginning with my editorial, one of the companies I would start immediately, right, was clearly Aquapurine. And what they do with their ESG goals and how they treat the people, how they value the people is one of the most coolest things I have ever seen. But the other thing, I mean, I have to mention that. You said you was 1 out of 3 who raised their hand who invested in that. That is one of the questions. I mean, if you go to an interview, and one of the questions is always the interviewers, or the applicant is asking, okay, what kind of training can I get? How much do you invest in me? And I was thinking to myself, well, and asking also to the applicant, how much did you invest in yourself over the last year? You're asking me, I should invest in you. How much yourself you invested in you? People have the mentality, okay, I go to a company and I expect that they get trained me in this and this and this and this and this. But they are not expecting themselves to do that. And that is what scares me.
That's an interesting debate, but it's a different topic.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But I think in today's market, even though you might be right, as an employer, you should still say, oh, we train you to whatever you want because you want to take those people because of the shortage. So that was my top 3 for this month. Number 3, everything which is linked to a smart metering of the network, pressure regulation valves, and really all the elements which enable you to do a smart network, a modular design of your network, and to combat this non-revenue water. Number 2, everything which is linked to industrial desalination, especially evaporators and crystallizers, but also high pressure reverse osmosis, despite the factory Björn knows which can deliver like that. If you need an address, ask him.
Come to me.
I guess he gets a commission.
No.
And number 1, and that's really the one where you have to invest this year, people.
What did I say?
People. We are a people's industry, and it shows right now that you have to invest in the right people. So that's my top 3. And that being said, I propose you to switch to the deep dive.
Let's go.
Water is the basis of all life. Depending on the use, a certain water quality is required. That is why it is essential to measure it. There are 3 dimensions to water quality: a physical, a chemical, and a microbiological dimension. Currently, there are only sensors to measure the physical and the chemical dimension. Therefore, only these can be used for process control. But process control is crucial to ensure the quality, efficiency, and safety of any process. Because there are no sensors for microbiological quality, this quality is unknown, although it affects health within minutes. It is still tested using traditional methods that take days to deliver a result and are unsuitable for process control. Because of this, all water-related applications are carried out in 2D, as only physical and chemical dimensions of water quality are available for process control. In order to meet quality standards for the microbiological dimension, oversized processes and overdosing disinfectants are necessary. This affects all water treatment processes from drinking water to wastewater. If process feedback is missing, a process cannot be controlled and therefore is not efficient, not sustainable, and not safe. The shift from 2D to 3D process control requires fully automated, rapid microbiological methods in order to provide the microbiological dimension of water quality for process feedback, process control, and early warning.
So, time for the deep dive. And for the deep dive today, we thought it makes about sense with what we said, especially in your editorial, that we discuss a specific subcategory of our industry, which is the startup scene. So what do we want to discuss today?
We want to discuss, let's say, the failures, or let's say the issues we have seen over the years, and, many startups, fall into the trap. That is a little bit, what do they do, or what do they have all in common, and what do they do sometimes wrong?
If we had to put a title on that section, it's the X, because we haven't decided how much yet, mistakes that we see repeated all the times by many different people. So we thought, let's discuss it. And do you want to start, or do I start with one?
I take just the first. One of the things is, it doesn't matter whether you have spent the last 30 years in one industry and you have a huge network. if you come up with a new idea, with a new technology, with a new product, with a new service, whatever, you have to build up your trust from zero. Because you will judged not about that what you have done before, you will be judged about what you are doing right now. So that means even if you have 20 years of experience and you're coming up with a startup technology, you have to start up from scratch, more or less.
I don't get what's the mistake which you see people doing.
The mistake is that the people expect, hey, I've been since 25 years in the water industry, or since 20 years, I had a cool career, and now I'm coming with something new, so you have to trust me. No, you're coming with something new, and then you have to build up your trust again. It's the same if someone is, changing the company. If you're working for company A, and then tomorrow you are starting working for company B, which is in competition to A, hey, you have to earn the trust again. So, and that is exactly what I have seen sometimes with some startups which came up and say, hey, well, I have a new company, I have a new technology. So you know me, guys, and I've spent the last year, so trust me. No. Nobody trusts you. Nobody was waiting for you.
But is that the case? Because I was reading yesterday an article on how to pick your advisor. And as a startup, it's important to pick the right advisors. And one of the things which they said is that one of the best reasons to take an advisor is that he has a history within the industry. And so he can bring you on his credibility, which by extension I would understand as if I come, let's say, with a 30 years history with Xylem or Veolia or Suez or whoever. If I start from scratch with my startup, I can still say, of course, it's not everything, but it's part of what I'm bringing.
You bring the expertise with. That's a good one. If you have an advisor with such a lasting history, that's a good one because he can tell you the traps he fallen in over the last 30 years, so you can avoid them. But if you are the advisor and you have a new technology and you want to come to the market and you say, hey, I have this experience, and that's why you have to trust me and my technology. No, you really start even with that from scratch.
Okay, so that's your first one. Then I'll take one which resonates with that one, which is the startups which fall in love with their technology. They become blind to everything else because they really believe so strongly in what they have that what they have is the best thing since the invention of sliced bread. And sometimes it is important to take that step back and to say, wait a minute. Water treatment, wastewater treatment, it's fields which exist for a while. And most probably, there's already a way to do what I'm doing. Maybe it's better what I'm doing. But this element of saying, we are the only ones to be able to do that. We are really so great because that and that. To me, it's an immediate red flag. If you're the only one, there's a problem. Because really, if you're the only one, whether the food industry was doing everything wrong for 150 years, which I don't believe is the case, or you misjudged the competitive environment. And I hear that quite a lot of this industry is not good at digitization. They are terrible, they do this, they're terrible, they do that, they're horrible, they do that. Me, with my two software designers, I solved that.
Trust me, bro.
And then you have to make a reality check and really to think, is it even possible that my good brain and my two colleagues, which know a bit IT, we do better than an Ecolab and their 2,000 IT professionals? No, it's not possible. You can have a specific edge. Yes, you can have a different take on existing stuff. Yes, but this element of I'm the only and there is no one before and there will be no one after. No, it's not believable. And if you start to believe too much in that yourself, you put yourself in a very difficult position because you don't see the reality anymore.
There must be the first one, always. Isn't that the case? Whatever comes up, there must be the first one.
It's the full distinction between transformative innovation and incremental innovation.
Okay.
So transformative innovation is everybody was doing argentic photography. Someone comes with digital photography. That is transformative. I don't think there are so many fields in the water sector which lend themselves to that. So it's more about doing a bit of the same and better. And usually, if really you're in a field which might be transformative, and you're alone, it's whether that you've not looked around and you're not alone and you're not aware, or you really have a strange idea. Because it's like, the wheel we estimate was invented at a certain point in time. But if we look a bit more precisely into history, the wheel was probably discovered at different places at roughly the same point in time. And so the point is, you just didn't know that at the other end of the world, someone was inventing the wheel, so you think you're alone. And the other side of that is that if everything goes right, then there's no big harm in thinking that you're better than all the others. But sometimes you have startups which are persisting on something which doesn't seem to float, but they are so deeply convinced that they have the best technology there is that they will never realize that it's maybe time to stop and to look for something else.
Okay, interesting one. The other one I have is quite often new technologies or services, especially technologies, come across, and new startup is coming and saying, I have invented something completely new, but the reality is it is just a little bit better than what is already existing. We talked about that, the 10%, the 15%, better in flux, less in energy consumption, better in OPEX, things like that. And this is just still not enough to go to the market to be so unique that you can fight against someone who is dominating the market since decades. But that is exactly what happens all the time. And new technologies come up, a new membrane, which is, hey, I'm 20% better in flux. Okay, but how you want to convince someone who is using since decades seaweed membranes, for instance, take that example, how you want to convince it? Just in saying, hey, I'm a little bit better in flux. That is not enough, but that is the major argument for most tech companies in our industry coming up with new ideas.
20% is interesting because it's a threshold of the theorem of Reinhard Hübner. Below 20%, don't even dare to come beat my door. I'm not interested. Above 20%, you get a chance. So you say that even by 20%, not sufficient?
Whatever the number is, whether it's 15, 20 or 25, but that is somehow the range where most of the people are saying, hey, I'm better than that. But still, that is not enough. Again, the market is not waiting for you. There is some technology, there's a solution used by the market, and you're coming up and you want to replace the existing solution just in being a little bit better, not enough.
Okay, then I have one which echoes with that one, which is actually there's this belief that if you want to be a startup and a cool company, you need to come up with something which is drastically better, which is what you just said. Yeah. And I think that's wrong as well. I think there is a totally overlooked category of company, which is there is an existing technology which you can't improve that much because it has reached its plateau. They are big players, but those big players have become too big to be really agile, versatile, and following their customers. And so there is a market opportunity which very often startups overlook, which is doing an incredibly better service than the average. And so technically it might not be game-changing, but it's
service.
Okay. But from the service perspective, that is a totally overlooked thing. And that is something which is very popular in different industries. If you look at, let's take a stupid example. You look at Zappos. Zappos was selling shoes. Did they sell different shoes? No. Did they sell them at a better price? No. Were they only want to sell shoes on the internet? At the beginning, maybe, but when they really took off, no. There were many other ones, including a European ripoff, very famous, called Zalando. And still, Zappos was successful because their motto was, we have to wow the customer no matter what. So there's an example, for instance, one day some guy called Zappos and say, I'd like to order a pizza. Most companies would say, hey, I'm a shoe selling company. Go F yourself with your pizza. But the Zappos guy ordered a pizza and sent it the way of the customer. And where did the customer buy his next shoes? At Zappos. Just one example. What I want to say here is that I have seen, it's a true story.
Okay.
It's in Delivering Happiness from Tony Hsieh, founder of Zappos. I've seen companies doing that in our industry. I've not seen enough. I've seen companies coming and saying, we are not reinventing the wheel and we don't pretend to reinvent the wheel, but we will deliver a higher quality of service and a full offering, which is no longer the case with all the players which are existing in the market. And that is really, if you're looking to found a company, you don't need to invent one of the examples you gave. You don't need to invent the new leak tech or Aquapurine. You can be...
If you just deliver wow. If you deliver wow to the customer. That's an interesting one. The other example is that they are so, in love with their own technology, and they are so convinced about what the technology can deliver, that they say, hey, the market will... they will run through my door and they will grab all the technology, all the products I have because it's so good. But the market is not waiting for you. If you don't tell the market, nobody will know. And that is exactly quite often the case that we are in a very technical industry. So everything is really focused on technology and how we produce something, how something is treated, how something is working. So it's very highly engineering stuff. But you have to tell the people. You have to tell them people that this works and how this works, and nobody is just waiting for you. You have to go out and you have to tell the people. And just due to the case that you are a little bit better or that you have the solution, you have to tell the solution to the people. And that is quite often overlooked.
So that's number 5. I have 5B because that one I had it's slightly different but very similar to what you just said, which is you have many startups which believe that their solution will sell itself. That it is so good that the way where it's slightly different from what you said but still the same idea is that what they would do is that they would offer a pilot, because they believe that the technology being so good, you offer the pilot works exactly as expected, and then
they will buy it.
They would buy it. And then they're surprised when they don't buy it, just because, yeah, you maybe didn't define exactly what the pilot was supposed to achieve, what was the threshold at which they would buy. And
it's just a little better than the solution they already have in place.
Exactly. So that would be 5 and 5B. So do you want me to take the next one? So number 6 would be you're solving a problem that nobody has. Like, you are coming with a technology,
I see that,
which is really good and which is bringing something on the market which doesn't exist. The problem is that what you're solving isn't a pain for anybody. You know, it's this old metaphor of the marketing professor who enters the course and says to his students, we will do a contest. You pick whatever you want as the top asset of your burger company, whatever you want. And we see if I win or if you win. And the students come and they say, we want the best meat. Oh, yeah, you get it. We want the best bread. Oh, yeah, we get it. We want the special sauce from McDonald's. Oh, yeah, you get it. And so far and so on. And they take all of these advantages, and that's the company of the students. And the professor comes and says, I take just one thing. I want a starving crowd. And who wins? The professor. Because all the others have arguably better burgers, but their customers don't want the burgers. And she has very average burger, but the people are hungry. So they buy from him.
What do you have in mind? I got it. Okay, that means the solution must be for the market. The market must be ready.
It's even more than that. It's really, let's say you are bettering the drinking water quality. People have drinking water, but you can do better. Yeah, but better than drinking water doesn't exist.
But who's saying that? Who's judging that? Yeah, you are saying there's nothing better than the quality of drinking water.
If you're a utility, you're delivering drinking water.
Yeah.
If now you want to deliver better than drinking water, so it's already drinking water and it's proven 24/7, never above the limits. I'm not speaking of these cases. I'm really speaking of the cases of someone who just always, but drinking water doesn't mean it's empty. There are some bacteria, there's some, and then you come and you say, I have a solution where you can measure what's below drinking water and you can remove it. Yeah, but I don't have the problem. I'm not interested. You can beat as many doors as you want.
Okay. Very, very good. Got the point. Maybe there's a transition to my 7th one. Quite often they are not educated and not ready for the water industry. That means, let's say, stupid example, they just mix up what is an APC, what is an integrator, what is an AOM, how does it work together, because they are somehow outside from the industry. And everybody's saying, okay, who's the biggest company on earth here in the water industry? We sell just our product to them, and then everything is solved, right? So that they are not educated enough about the market, how the market works, how we are, working together to get a plant running, to get a process in operation, and things like that. So all these little tiny steps we know from a product, from a technology up to a working plant. So this is quite often overlooked, and they just come to the market and say, hey, I have a solution. You have to take it. But who? And then they're just saying, okay, this is the biggest company. They have to buy my stuff. This is maybe goes a little bit in this direction.
Which resonates with my next one, actually, which would be then number 8 or 7B again. I see so many companies which look exactly like you say. Who's the biggest water company in the world? Veolia. Okay. So whatever I do, I go to Veolia. If I can convince them to license it or to buy it, then job done. And then they develop a stuff like a skid or a process step. They go to Veolia, and Veolia being like an octopus with so many arms, you can meet a small size Veolia and you go to this small size Veolia and you say Veolia, I don't know, Veolia Lithuania or like really a small Veolia. And you convince that small Veolia that your stuff is good, and probably it is good. And they say, great, we'll take it. And maybe on our next plant we use it. And then maybe they even use it on the next plant. And then you're like, Veolia, 300,000 people working for that company, my job is done. And that is really misunderstanding the go-to-market.
Yeah, I would extend that. I mean, let's take the example, or let's say Veolia is operating a couple of plants, municipalities and industrial plants, and they operate tons of plants, especially now with Suez. So that doesn't mean that, let's say, if you have equipped one of these plants, that they will leverage this one and bring it to all the others.
Yes,
it's not an automation.
Absolutely.
It is not an automation. Yeah. It is not a guarantee. It's the same if, let's say, if you have convinced one municipality in Germany, and we have 10,000 of these, that all other 9,999 will also use this technology. That is not the case. And this is sometimes the misunderstanding in the industry.
So that was number 8. Number 9, you take it, I take it?
I have a last one.
Okay, I have a last one as well. So we end at 10 apparently.
The last one is the business model. Sometimes they come up with, I would not call it fancy, but let's say with business models which have never been seen in the industry. And the low-hanging fruit is clearly a CapEx sales. It's a CapEx sales. Just take the product, implement it, give me some money. And they are coming with, oh yeah, we have this kind of business model, we have a royalty, we have a license, you can get it for free and I get something back. And maybe we have this kind of service agreement, blah, 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 blah. But the low-hanging fruit, the industry is, very used to is, give me a product, I give you some money. And sometimes they, especially to come into the game, they overlook that. They're coming directly with this business model and then, they don't find the customer so easy, but let's say to just sell the product and get some money out. That would be my number 9.
Well, actually, my number 10 resonates very well with that.
We haven't discussed that, right?
Yeah. My number 10 is you can't decide all by your own on your shape and just go out and market whatever you wanted to market. And actually, that's a mistake which I see startup doing, but also noticing and then correcting. But they could avoid the pain of doing the mistake at first. Let's imagine you're a membrane company. Many membrane company, they produced a membrane and then they're like, let me go sell the membrane. But that doesn't exist. There's no category in the market which is just selling the membrane. You have to put it in a module or you have to do the full frame. I mean, you have to find what is already accepted within the market. And the thing is, you cannot change all the parameters at once. You cannot come with a new technology which is delivering a different size of stuff to a different market, through a different route. It's too many parameters at once. You can't change everything. Another example would be companies who want to do only R&D. There are many which they're developing a process, and once my process is developed and proven in the lab, I'm going to go and sell it to big companies. But that doesn't work that way because this industry is aware that something which works in the lab might not be working at full scale. So if you want to really focus on the R&D, you still have to go the entire route from R&D up to successful demonstration in the field and demonstration plants. And then maybe you can sell it to someone else. But you have to look to what was already done and then not necessarily do 100% the same than what was already done, but at least do something which resembles, so that if someone asks you, say, oh yeah, I'm developing a membrane, think of what Xenon did 20 years ago. Or I'm doing R&D, think of what Wallace Corning did with Nereda, and this kind of stuff. You have to be able to say, I'm the Uber of water, or I'm the Netflix of process equipment. But sometimes that works because it's proven. It's proven to say my business model or the portion of the sector I want to cover exists and I'm not creating an entirely new category.
Good.
10?
10.
10.
10.
You might have more. If you have more,
or maybe you
drop them in the comments. If you disagree with whatever we said, it might sound that we know everything and we are so clever. It's not the case. It is just from experience, what we see out there in the field. There might be very powerful counterexample of people which are going against our 10 rules and are successful, and I'm really happy for them. If that's the case, tell us those stories. That would be great as well. And we can be wrong.
Then let's jump to the conclusion. So I'm really looking forward to the conclusion.
Let's move to it.
Perfect.
I think that was a cool show. And there's something I wanted to say, which is we've listed 10 mistakes. If Björn and me were to run a startup, we would probably do even more than those 10 mistakes. So don't take it like we are superior and we tell you what to do. It is just what we noticed.
I watched a YouTuber very recently and we talked about that, and he, over the last years he had a mastermind, and the reason why he had the mastermind is he said clearly, I can do a failure, then I can learn from the failure, then I do the next failure and I can learn from the next failure. But with a mastermind there are 4 to 5 people, so they all did some failures. They took the failures into the mastermind, they discussed that, and then they ensured that the others are not doing the same failure again. And that is exactly what we try to do with this deep dive today. If you agree, if you disagree, if you have an own opinion, hey, we are here to learn also from you guys. Just shoot out.
So we see that as a collective mastermind because somewhat we're in the 3rd year of our water show startup. So
really?
It's not that different. Yeah. And we're still alive, so we are maybe somewhere in the chasm, but we're still alive.
Very cool. So hope to see you very soon and wish you all the best, and yeah, good luck.
See you soon.
Leck mich am Arsch, ist das kalt hier in Österreich. Hey, können wir wieder zurück nach Basel, da war es schön warm.